The screen is black. A faint scratching sound fades in. The tip of a pencil on paper. Suddenly, a quick montage. A folded kite slipping under a cell door. A tattoo needle buzzing. A guard lifting a Bible to find a hidden note inside. The narrator's voice cuts in. In prisons across America, power doesn't just move through fists or shanks. It moves through messages. Hidden, coded, and often invisible to the guards. These secret communications can spark riots, order hits, or keep gangs alive across razor wire fences. From letters disguised as love notes to codes tattooed into skin, prison gangs have developed a secret language of survival and control. In this documentary, we'll take you deep inside the hidden networks of America's most feared prison gangs. The Aryan Brotherhood, the Mexican Mafia, the Black Guerrilla Family, MS-13, and reveal how their codes of communication shape life and death behind bars. Stay to the end for the most chilling revelation of all. The story of a single coded message smuggled out of a supermax that changed an entire city's fate. This is the secret code of prison gangs, how messages travel behind bars. The first code, the birth of the kite. Long before cell phones and contraband electronics, prison communication began with the simplest of tools: paper, pencil, and imagination. The earliest form of gang messaging was the kite, a handwritten note, folded tightly and passed from cell to cell. Former inmates describe writing on anything available: toilet paper, Bible pages, scraps of commissary wrappers. The writing was tiny, almost microscopic, and the folds were precise. A kite could be hidden under a tongue, inside clothing seams, or slipped into the binding of a book. The power of the kite wasn't in the words themselves, but in the network. One inmate in solitary could write a few lines, tie the kite to a string, and seize, light it along the tier. Others would fish for it with makeshift lines of thread or shoelaces. This created a spiderweb of communication invisible to the guards, carrying orders across entire units. Guards tried to intercept kites, but gangs adapted. They developed shorthand, slang, and even symbolic alphabets. Some notes looked like love letters, others like prayers. But for those who knew the code, they carried commands, extortions, drug deals, even death sentences. The kite was more than a note. It was the first digital message of prison life, fast, mobile, and nearly impossible to erase. Ink and blood, tattoos, as hidden messages. In the world of prison gangs, skin is not just flesh. It's a billboard, a diary, and a codebook. Tattoos have always carried meaning, but inside America's toughest prisons, they become a language of power and allegiance. Former inmates explain that a tattoo can say where you're from, what gang you belong to, what crimes you've committed, and even who you've killed. But it's rarely spelled out plainly. Instead, it's coded. Numbers replace names. Symbols replace orders. Take the Mexican Mafia, also called La M, Spanish for M. Members often tattoo a simple letter M, but the shape, the font, even the placement can tell insiders whether someone is a full-fledged member or just an associate. The Aryan Brotherhood uses shamrocks, lightning bolts, and the number 88, but each design has layers of meaning that only insiders decode. In maximum security, tattoos aren't just identity markers. They're communication tools. Orders can be given through inked maps. A spiderweb design might mark debts owed. A set of dots can indicate rank within the gang. A star on the shoulder? It might mean the man has carried out a sanctioned hit. Tattoos are permanent kites. Messages that live on the body, beyond searches and shakedowns. Even if an inmate is moved across states, the ink speaks before he does. And sometimes, the ink is written in blood. Makeshift tattoo guns are built from cassette players, staplers, and guitar strings. The ink comes from melted plastic or soot, mixed with shampoo. Infections are common. But for gang members, the pain is part of the pact. To carry the code on your skin is to declare loyalty, even at the cost of your own body. For viewers, this chapter reveals that tattoos are not just decoration. They're living documents of gang law. A silent, permanent message, visible to those who know how to read it. The Bible cipher. Holy texts. Deadly orders. Religion is one of the few freedoms that prisons cannot take away. Bibles, Qurans, and other holy books are often allowed in every cell. For prison gangs, this sacred protection became a loophole and a weapon. Investigators have documented cases where entire gang orders were hidden in Bible ciphers. A verse number might correspond to a letter. A highlighted passage could signal an action. Even folded pages could act as a code. 3 folds meaning kill, 2 folds meaning collect. In one case at Pelican Bay State Prison, investigators discovered a chain of messages where gang leaders used Bible verses to orchestrate drug trafficking outside prison walls. To the untrained eye, the letters looked like scripture studies. To insiders, they were deadly blueprints. This method works because of plausible deniability. Who questions a prisoner for reading the Bible? Who questions a letter home with a verse scribbled in the corner? Guards admit, it's one of the hardest codes to crack because it looks holy. The Bible cipher is one of the purest examples of prison ingenuity, turning something sacred into a secret channel of power. Whispers through the walls, pipes, toilets, and vent codes. Narration. Not every code needs paper or ink. In the silence of solitary confinement, inmates discovered that the very walls around them could carry messages. Pipes, vents, even toilets became lifelines. Former prisoners call it toilet talking. Flush the water out, lean close, and your voice carries through the plumbing like a crude telephone. Whole conversations can take place between cells on different floors. To an outsider, it sounds like garbled echoes, but to trained ears, it's a secret line. Inmates also developed vent codes. By tapping or whistling into the ventilation system, words could travel across tiers. 3 taps might mean yes, 2 taps no. Long pauses spelled out letters in Morse-like systems adapted to prison life. Guards knew about these tricks, but stopping them was almost impossible. Shutting down plumbing or vents wasn't an option, and inmates were resourceful. When one method was blocked, they invented another. Some even created wall phones by pressing metal objects against surfaces to amplify vibrations. One Pelican Bay inmate recalled, "We ran an entire network from the hole. We called it the underground wire. The guards thought we were crazy talking into toilets, but we were running business." This chapter reveals that even isolation cannot silence the code. Behind the noise of metal doors and silence of concrete, whispers still travel, carrying debts, threats, and orders. When the messages leave the prison, street hits, ordered from inside. Inside prison, messages are survival. But when those messages leak outside, they become deadly. Across the United States, investigators have traced murders, drug deals, and extortion schemes back to coded prison notes. One infamous case involved the Mexican Mafia. From inside Pelican Bay's SHU, Security Housing Unit, leaders wrote tiny coded letters, sometimes on onion skin paper, sometimes hidden in legal mail. These kites ordered street-level members to collect drug debts and punish rivals. Each note was disguised with legal jargon or Bible verses, but the orders were clear. In 2013, federal prosecutors reveal that one such letter ordered a green light, a gang code for execution, on arrival. Within days, a man was gunned down on the streets of Los Angeles. The killer later testified. The paper came from the inside. Narration. This isn't an isolated case. From ADX Florence in Colorado, the Aryan Brotherhood orchestrated extortion rackets. From Texas state prisons, the Barrio Azteca coordinated cross-border cartel operations. And from county jails, MS-13 relayed orders that led to violence in multiple states. Prisons are supposed to sever gang leaders from the outside world. Instead, secret codes often extend their power beyond the walls. A single folded kite, a tattooed symbol, or a whispered word through pipes can ripple out into entire neighborhoods. Invisible ink. Hidden messages in everyday objects. Narration. Paper isn't always what it seems. For decades, prison gangs have smuggled orders hidden in everyday objects. When guards got better at intercepting kites, inmates turned to invisible ink. Former inmates explain how simple materials became tools of espionage. Lemon juice or milk could be used as ink, revealed only by heat. Laundry starch mixed with water left faint markings only visible under a lamp. Some even used shampoo or blood diluted with water, turning ordinary letters into coded battle plans. One Texas inmate wrote what looked like a love poem to his girlfriend. Under a blacklight, investigators later discovered the poem spelled out instructions for a heroin shipment. In California, guards intercepted legal mail that contained faint dots between words. When connected, they formed a list of names marked for collection. The trick wasn't just in writing, it was in delivery. Messages were hidden in legal paperwork, folded into origami-like shapes, or written on clothing tags. Some inmates used laundry systems to pass hidden codes, marking shirts or socks with specific folds. For gangs, invisible ink wasn't just about secrecy. It was about control. If a leader could send orders under the nose of staff, it reinforced the idea that no wall was truly secure. The supermax paradox. Controlling the uncontrollable. Supermax prisons were built for one purpose: to isolate. At ADX, Florence, inmates spend 23 hours a day in solitary, meals slid through slots, communication stripped to the bare minimum. The theory is simple. Cut off the network, and the gang dies. But reality is more complicated. Even inside supermax units, coded messages persist. Former wardens admit, "We can stop movement. We can't stop communication." How does it happen? Sometimes through legal mail loopholes. Correspondence with lawyers is often protected, making it difficult to screen. Sometimes through corrupt staff willing to smuggle notes for money. And sometimes even through art and drawings sent to family, which secretly encode instructions. A chilling example came in 2006, when investigators discovered that Aryan Brotherhood leaders, inside ADX, were still directing murders outside prison walls, using coded letters disguised as mundane correspondence. Federal prosecutors eventually launched the largest prison gang trial in U.S. history, known as the AB RICO case. The supermax paradox is this: the tighter the system squeezes, the more ingenious the codes become. By isolating leaders, prisons may actually sharpen their determination to communicate. The result? A constant arms race between gang innovation and prison surveillance. Dead drops and corrupt channels. When guards join the network, every wall has a weak spot. In prisons, the weakest link is often not the concrete or the cameras, but the people. Former gang members and investigators alike confirm that corrupt staff have always played a role in moving coded messages. Some guards smuggle letters for cash. Others are threatened. And in rare cases, some develop personal relationships with inmates that cloud professional lines. Oh, a former federal investigator described how a guard at San Quentin was caught smuggling kites between gang leaders. Each letter looked harmless. Family updates. Prayer requests. But investigators later discovered they were coded orders to collect debts and coordinate drug drops. The system of dead drops also became an extension of this corruption. An inmate might instruct a family member to leave a package taped under a bus bench or hidden in a soda machine at a gas station. Another associate picks it up. In many cases, the first link in this chain is a note carried out of the prison, sometimes by visitors, sometimes by staff. Corrupt channels blur the line between inside and outside. And every time a guard becomes part of the chain, the prison loses the very control it was built to maintain. The code that sparked a riot. In 1980, New Mexico's state penitentiary erupted in one of the bloodiest prison riots in American history. Officially, the violence was blamed on overcrowding, poor conditions, and lack of staff. But former prisoners whisper another story. A single coded message may have been the spark. According to accounts later gathered by journalists, a kite circulated across the cell blocks days before the riot. The note, disguised as a commissary list, allegedly contained a message. Tonight we open the doors. What happened next was chaos. Inmates overpowered guards, seized control of entire units, and unleashed a wave of violence that left more than 30 dead. Investigators never proved that one note started it all, but survivors insist the power of coded communication cannot be underestimated. This was not an isolated event. At Pelican Bay, officials documented kites that coordinated hunger strikes. At Angola, hidden codes planned work stoppages. In prison, a single line of words can move hundreds of men to action. The riot code proves the ultimate truth of prison communication. Messages are not just survival tools, they are weapons, capable of shaking entire systems. Digital smuggling, cell phones, and the new frontier of prison codes. For decades, prison codes relied on paper, ink, whispers, and tattoos. But in the 21st century, everything changed. The new codebook fits in the palm of a hand: the cell phone. Contraband phones, smuggled in by drones, visitors, or even staff, revolutionized prison communication. No longer limited to folded kites or wall taps, inmates could now send texts, photos, or encrypted messages in real time. What once took weeks through mail now moved in seconds. The consequences were immediate. Gang leaders in solitary could direct entire criminal enterprises outside prison walls. Investigations revealed that one Latin Kings leader in New Jersey coordinated drug deals and assaults by texting his crew from a smuggled phone. In Mississippi, inmates live-streamed from inside cells, flaunting drugs and cash. Prisons scrambled to keep up. Signal jammers, phone-sniffing dogs, and drone detection systems became part of the arsenal. But just like with kites and tattoos, every new wall created a new workaround. Phones were hidden in shoes, food trays, even inside body cavities. Some inmates used tiny SIM cards passed in balloons. And the codes evolved with the tech. Messages moved to encrypted apps, slang turned into emojis, and photos of graffiti doubled as orders. Digital smuggling blurred the line between prison and street until, in some cases, the prison yard felt less isolated than ever. For gangs, the cell phone wasn't just a tool, it was a throne. Leaders once buried in concrete now commanded empires from their bunks. Thanks for watching Behind Bars TV. If this documentary opened your eyes, hit the like button and subscribe for more real stories from inside the world's toughest prisons. Drop your thoughts in the comments. We read every one. Stay curious, stay informed, and we'll see you in the next episode.